Weird facts about Oedipus. Hello? Weird facts about Oedipus is the focus of the video we're showing today. Before anything else, please like this video and follow our YouTube channel for further updates. One of the most well-known tragedies in all of classical mythology is the tragedy of Oedipus. But how was this Greek legend created? What does that signify, then? It might be worthwhile to recall the events of Oedipus in the form of a storyline summary before we answer these queries. The Oedipus myth has been preserved from the classical age in a variety of distinct forms. The following makes an effort to highlight the myth's most salient and universal features. A prophecy foretold that if Thebes' king Laius and his wife Jocasta had a son, the child would grow up to kill his father and bring destruction upon Laius' household. Laius disregarded this prophecy and proceeded to have a son with Jocasta. To prevent the prophecy from coming true, Laius wounded the boy's ankles and tied them together with a strap before he was even born. This led to the child's feet swelling, which is how Oedipus got his name, which translates to swollen foot. The boy was then destroyed by Laius, either by abandoning him in the mountains or by tossing him into the sea, or he was saved by a fisherman, or he was rescued by shepherds. The unifying thread in all versions of the Oedipus story is that Oedipus is saved and raised by a monarch who is childless. Oedipus was nurtured by this kind, Polybus, as his son. When Oedipus grew up and became an adult, he left his adoptive parents and his home behind. It's interesting to note that his motivations for doing so change from story to story. The myth's earliest iterations depict him leaving his home to go steal horses, which isn't exactly honorable. In the tragedy, Oedipus was insulted by someone telling him that Polybus was not his biological father and that he was a foundling. Polybus acknowledged that he wasn't Oedipus' biological father when the latter questioned him about it. In some versions, the Delphic oracle foretold Oedipus that he would kill his father and wed his mother. In this version of the tale, Oedipus took Polybus for his real father and left home out of fear that he would murder Polybus. Oedipus encountered Laius, king of Thebes and Oedipus' biological father, on a road, variously, the road back from Delphi, where he had consulted the oracle, on his way to steal those horses, or on his way to Thebes, where he intended to make sure he was as far away from Polybus as possible so he could not fulfill the prophecy. Oedipus became enraged and killed the herald and Laius after being told to move aside so the king could pass by Laius' herald. Inadvertently completes the first half of the prophecy by killing his father. He did so. When Oedipus arrived in Thebes, he was met by the Sphinx, a hybrid of a lion and a woman. People were given riddles by the Sphinx, and if they couldn't figure them out, she ate them. However, the riddle she asks Oedipus, which asks, "What goes on 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs at noon, and 3 legs at night?" is answered by our hero, who gives her the right answer. We'll explain why this is the solution later. In some alternative versions of the Oedipus myth, the Sphinx also asks, there are 2 sisters, one gives birth to the other, and she, in turn, gives birth to the first. Who or what are they? The Sphinx is defeated by the solution to her riddle, and she perishes. Oedipus killed the Sphinx, and the Thebans were so appreciative that they offered him the throne of their city, state and their widowed queen in marriage. In due course, Oedipus ascended to the throne of Thebes and wed Jocasta, the late king Laius' widow. Of course, Oedipus is unaware that Laius was the victim of his roadside murder. But finally, the truth was revealed. According to one interpretation, it's the characteristic scars on Oedipus' feet, which date back to when those feet were strapped together when he was a baby. The epidemic was wreaking havoc on the city of Thebes in Sophocles' more well-known rendition of the story, Oedipus Rex, and the Delphic oracle predicted that the plague would only end when Laius' death exacted its revenge. Oedipus, who was not aware that he had just condemned himself, cursed the person who killed Laius. Tiresias, the seer, was questioned by Oedipus about who committed the killing. Tiresias hesitated to answer because it would mean accusing his monarch of murder, but this made Oedipus believe that Tiresias and Creon, the man who succeeded Laius as de facto king, had planned the murder together. To make things right, Jocasta questioned both Tiresias and all prophecies in general. She recounted the example of Laius, whose son would kill him, as an oracle had predicted. To prevent this tragedy, Laius had abandoned the child for dead. Laius was murdered by thieves while traveling, demonstrating the falsity of the prophecy. Oedipus had a terrible realization hit him. Laius was slain while traveling? His greatest suspicions were realized when he asked them for a description of the former king and the location of the murder. His murder of Laius. According to some accounts, a messenger from Corinth came to inform Oedipus that his adopted father, Polybus, had passed away from natural causes and that Oedipus was the rightful heir to the throne. However, Oedipus was still apprehensive about the second part of the prophecy. What if he nevertheless managed to find a way to wed Polybus' widow, his adopted mother? The messenger then clarifies that Oedipus was a foundling and that Polybus' wife was not his real mother. Hearing this, Jocasta realized the entire prophecy had come to pass. Her husband was her biological son. Distressed, she hanged herself, and Oedipus blinded himself in terror at what he had done. The Oedipus narrative has been depicted in countless plays, poetry, and other works of art throughout classical civilization, as was previously said. Each version of the Oedipus tale has its unique details. I'll give you an example. What was the mother of Oedipus' name? Jocasta? Both yes and no. Whatever depends. Even though we followed the most well-known version of the Oedipus narrative above and gave his mother the name Jocasta, she is only given this name in tragedies or plays about Oedipus. She is referred to as Epicast in Homer's Odyssey. She goes by the name Eurygania or Euryonassa in the epic form of the Oedipus cycle, and Asti Medusa in another. Which version of the Oedipus story we read may also affect what the moral is. According to the tragedian's version of the story, Oedipus' arrogance and pride are what cause him and Laius, who turns out to be his real father, to fight on the road. If Oedipus had been less stubborn, he would have played the bigger man and moved aside to let Laius pass. And in doing so, he would have prevented killing his father and carrying out the prophecy, or at least, he might have. Our actions have consequences, but that doesn't mean that every action will have a specific result. Instead, it could be that one action results in something entirely different that is somehow connected to our life. However, according to another school of thought, fate was predetermined for Oedipus from the beginning since it was simply too strong for human agency to overcome. He was lost. Laius tried to kill the infant so that it would never grow up and kill him, but Oedipus lived. Oedipus tried to escape his home to avoid the prophecy, but he didn't realize that he was running toward, not away from, his biological parents. How was the video? Do you like it? Post your response in our comments section below and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos.